Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you my December plans, kind of a November wrap up. I don't know what's happening. I am a couple of days late. That was not on purpose. I just got done working 6 days in a row and I had 3 graveyards in there. So I don't even know what day it is. I think it's December 2nd today when I'm filming this. Probably will post this today or tomorrow depending on how productive I feel. My husband got me a Nintendo Switch for Christmas and he gave it to me early, so that's taken up a lot of my time. And I've also decided that I'm going to rewatch Law & Order SVU from the beginning so then I can catch up on the 10 to 12 new seasons I haven't seen, which I do this every couple of years and I never make it past like season 9 or 10. And I just never continue. I don't know what's wrong with me. So, busiest time of the year. We are in December now. I didn't read shit in November. I just didn't feel like it. I was just riding the slump wave and I decided that I wasn't going to force myself. I did read, I did complete one book. I read half of Death by Laura Thalassa, which is the last book in the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse series, but I didn't finish it. It's at like 300 and something out of 500 pages. And I know I will eventually maybe, but I got bored. And I think it's because every single one of those books in that series are formulaic. They're formulaic. They're formulated the exact same way. It's Apocalypse with the 4 horsemen. The girl that is supposed to be with that horseman in his book meets him. They fight a lot. They kill each other a lot. Well, she kills him a lot, at least once or twice. Then starts to find some feelings. He always acts like, in most cases, a giant baby who knows nothing about humans or food or sex or anything like that. She teaches him. He sees the error of his ways and realizes that humanity does have some worth and doesn't deserve to die. And then they live happily ever after together. And then you move on to the next horseman. It's like they were all called together, but pestilence got to start. And then once he was done, then it was war's turn to take over. Then famine. Now we're on death. And death is like be all end all. And death is like a combination of pestilence and a little bit of famine. War I think is like my favorite horseman. I don't know, famine was pretty great too, but death, seemed pretty cool. I mean, he's got wings. He can kill you just by touch. All he has to do is think about it and like he can wipe it out. And he doesn't kill people like disgustingly like pestilence does with sickness, or war does by like cutting you to pieces, or like famine does by having plants grow around you and crush you to death. Death can just go like this and you just drop dead. Like no muss, no fuss. There's just bodies everywhere. And his girl, her name is Lazarus, which, you know, I don't know much about biblical anything, but apparently it's a biblical reference. And something that she avoids death. And I guess when she was found, it was after death had killed a town and she was the only one left alive as an infant, and her mother took her in, and apparently she can't die. So nothing can kill her. She's been killed multiple times and just comes back to life. There's this one scene where she is accidentally impaled on something and spends 3 days that way, just dying and waking up in excruciating pain and then dying again. It was good. Like, the content is good, but it just followed the same pattern. You know, they meet each other. She doesn't want to be around him, doesn't want to be with him. They end up chasing each other around the country for a bit. This one takes place in the southern United States. Starts in Georgia, and I think where I'm left off, they're in Texas, so they're moving across the South United States. They just chase each other around. Then, of course, he's intrigued by her. Though he is more aware, he knows that she is obviously meant for him, like she is his woman, and like, you know, she's against it, of course, but the other horsemen have come in this one and have kind of put their 2 cents in, so it's like they're trying to stop the end of the world, and I'm sure it's fine. And I was looking at some of the reviews, and a lot of people didn't like how it ended. And where I'm at, it's like we're in the same pattern where they find a house that has been abandoned, or, you know, people who lived there have died and they live there for a bit and they have lots of sex and then they move on to somewhere else, and she's trying to convince him not to kill anymore. And it's the exact same thing as the other 3, though the other 3 I think were written better. Like, death isn't bad, it's just not as good as the other ones. Like, I love the storyline of war and like what he was doing and the ins and outs of like his war camps and like the other people that were in the camp and stuff like that. And famine was the same way. Like, he had a really interesting backstory, and he had a interesting backstory with Anna, who was his woman or his wife or whatever she is, girlfriend, heroine, whatever you want to call it. And Pestilence was kind of the weaker one, but Death isn't as good. It reminds me a lot of Pestilence, where it's kind of weak, and it's kind of upsetting because I loved the series. Like, I binged through Pestilence and War, and I couldn't wait to get Famine, and I read that when the second it came out and loved that, and I was excited for this one and thinking it would help with my slump, and it really didn't. I mean, I breezed through the first 300 pages in like 2 days because they're very easy to read, but I got bored. So here we are. The one book I did finish, which was kind of an interesting thing. I was kind of going through Audible to kind of see if I could find something that maybe I could listen to and be interested in. And under the true crime section, there was a book by Lieutenant Joe Kenda, who, if you don't watch serial killer and like true crime documentaries like a freak like I do, like where I'm obsessed with them, on ID Discovery, he had his own show called Homicide Hunter, where he narrates it all, and it's all about all the cases that he worked on as a homicide detective. And he is from Colorado Springs, Colorado. He had 300 and something cases while he was a homicide detective for 23 years, and he solved 91% of them. So he's got a high percentage rate. So the show is all about all these different cases that he worked and what happened and how they caught the killer and all this shit. So he's written 2 books. So I downloaded the one, which does talk about a couple of cases. I think two I recognized from the show, like that I've watched, and the other ones I didn't, but he's narrating it. So that's why I wanted to listen to it, because I love his voice. And so he narrates it. It was great. I listened to it in 2 days. I gave it 4 stars, or did I give it 5? I think I gave it 5. I really enjoyed it. So I downloaded his other one, which is more like a memoir a little bit. And that one, I'm about halfway through listening to it, and I'm enjoying that one too. I could have finished the second one, the second Kenda book, by the end of the month, but I started watching SVU instead. So that's all I read in November. I didn't read anything else. I had my little Laura Thalassa tangent, and then I read one true crime book, and that was it. So here we are. It's December. I'm going to try to read this month. I'm also not going to force myself. I asked Mel, who's a friend of mine who's on Becca's Discord, to go through my Goodreads TBR and just kind of pick some random crap and see, I figured maybe if I have a TBR and that somebody else has set for me, it'll motivate me more to read. We'll see. And I just realized that my thumbnail is going to be way off because I forgot, because it's me and I'm just a mess right now. I forgot my book club's book pick. I forgot to pull it off the shelf. Here we are. So I'm going to start with that one. So Vicky and I run a book club called Random Reads Book Club over on Goodreads. It's always linked down below if you want to join us. We read a book every 2 months. And for the month of December, we chose I don't know if it's a thriller or a horror. I think it's marketed as horror. And it's got some mixed reviews, but it's been on our TBRs for a while. So we decided to tackle it. And that's Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. So this is the guy who wrote The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I haven't read, haven't watched the movie. It's not my type of book. This is about a child who gets lost in the woods and is gone for a while and then comes back and he starts acting different. I've heard mixed reviews about this. I've heard that people say it's like way too long. Oh my God, look at how small that font is. Holy shit. I've heard people say that it was way too long. I've heard people say that it has an open ending and they didn't really like it. We have 2 months to read it. We have till the end of January. That'll probably take me that long to read it because with how my reading's going, we'll see. But if you want to join us in reading Imaginary Friend, the group is linked down below. And this was both of our picks. This was not, Vicky announced it, but this was both of our picks. We both wanted to get this tackled because I knew for a fact that I probably wouldn't read this unless I was forced to in a group or a buddy read setting. So yeah, I am nervous because of the size, and I'm nervous because I've struggled so much, and I've struggled with our picks. There hasn't really been Interview with the Vampire, which I forgot to mention in my last video. I did read Interview with the Vampire last month for my book club. Oh, and not last month, in October. I don't even remember how to booktube anymore. Okay, so the rest of the books Mel has picked, well, the rest of them except for one. And I'll mention the ebook first, or one that I have on Kindle, and it's called The Hollows by Mark somebody. I'll have a picture on the screen. It's one of the Goodreads choice horrors, or it was one of the horror choices, but it's not in the finals, but it was in the initial pick. So she said that I believe she's read it and she liked it. Don't quote me on that. But it's quick. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I already downloaded it while I was going through all of the horror selections. I downloaded a couple that were on Kindle Unlimited, and so I want to give it a shot because it kind of felt like in a horror mood, but it's got to be a good one. So we're going to give that one a try. I don't have any idea what it's about. I want to go into it totally blind. But that was a nice, easy pick that she chose for me. Hi guys. So editing me literally 2 days later, today's December 4th. So I'm even late posting this. I started editing my TBR video and realized that my camera cut out halfway through. So I noticed it cut out like towards the end when I was pretty much done talking. And so I'm going to edit it, and no, it cut me off like right after talking about the hollows, which I didn't realize. I thought it cut off after I stopped talking about like my last one. So I'm kind of doing this on the fly with like no real light. I'm not going to set up everything and like film again. So we're just going to go with the Hot Mess Express train that this video already is, and I'm just going to talk quickly about the other books that are randomly on my TBR. I don't even have an outro. It deleted all of that too, so I guess the rest of this TBR is going to be kind of vlog style. So I think I got 4 other books that are tentatively on my TBR. 3 of them Mel picked, and then I've got, of course, Imaginary Friend, which is our book club pick. And then one I kind of want to throw on there, like, we're going to see how this goes. I've already received 2 book presents in the mail for Christmas, and I always open that shit early because I have no chill. If I end up with enough, like, bookish gifts by the end of the season, then I'll do a haul. But I may pick up some of those. We'll see how this month goes. I haven't read shit yet, and it's December 4th, so we'll be lucky if I finish anything. But anyways, so one of the other books Mel wants me to read is Lost Boy by Christina Henry. This is a retelling, like a horror kind of retelling of Captain Hook's origin story. I read Alice by Christina Henry. I did a buddy read with Cody a couple years ago, and that was like a horror version of Alice in Wonderland, which I really enjoyed. We just felt that it was a little rushed, and the horror was great, but it was a little rushed and a little short. This is also short, but Cody has read this and said that she absolutely loves it, and it's like one of her favorites. So I'm kind of excited Mel picked this because I've been meaning to read it for a while. It's been on my shelf for a couple of years, and hopefully it'll be a nice, quick, easy read. And then we have Solace of Sharp Claws by Lana Pete is what I call her. I don't want to butcher her last name. This is book 2 in the Fae Guardian series. I, luckily enough, am already into this. So when she picked this, I was like, ooh, my bookmark says 108, but I'm further than that because I also have it on Kindle because these are on Kindle Unlimited. My lovely friend Ash has bought me all 4 books in the series so far. So I've already started this. I'm enjoying it. I don't know why I put this down to begin with. I think it was towards my fantasy romance binge in the middle of the year, and I was kind of like fantasy romanced out. But I am enjoying this story. This is a post-apocalyptic fantasy romance story that takes place in our world, but just in the future after a major apocalypse has happened, and about these women who are slowly showing back up they're from the past, and they're showing up in the future where Fae now exists, and they end up with mates, and they are meant to help save our now post-apocalyptic world. I'm really enjoying it. This is Thorn's story. I just need a push to finish it, and I think I'm about or close to halfway through this one. So I've already got a head start. So this one, hopefully, I've been meaning to finish this. I think I've been reading this for like 6 months. So hopefully I can get this finished in December. Oh, my arm's getting tired. And then she also picked The Wolf of Oren Yarrow by K.S. Veloso. This is a fantasy, a rather chunky one. This is book 1 of the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen. So already that sounds promising. From what I've heard, this series, I think there's 2 books out and the 3rd one coming. 3rd one might already be out. I'm not really hip on all of the new releases. But from what I've heard, this is really good. It's about a woman who I think is in a political kind of marriage, and something happens with the kingdom where she has to fight for her position. Okay, so born under the crumbling towers of her kingdom, Queen Talion was the shining jewel and legacy of the bloody War of the Wolves. It nearly tore her nation apart, but her arranged marriage to the son of a rival clan heralds peace. However, he suddenly disappears before their reign can begin, and the kingdom is fractured beyond repair. Years later, he sends a mysterious invitation to meet her journeys across the sea in hopes of reconciling their past. An assassination attempt quickly dashes these dreams. Stranded in a land she doesn't know with no idea whom she can trust, Talia will have to embrace her namesake, which I'm assuming is the bitch queen. So, I mean, it sounds really good, and I've heard nothing but good things about it, and it's been sitting on my shelf for well over a year, probably more like 2. I just need to get to it. So, hopefully, I will. It's on the TBR. We'll see. And then, Ninth Reign by Jen Williams is kind of tentatively on there. I've read the first 3 chapters, and I really enjoyed them. This is a fantasy sci-fi, or sci-fi fantasy. It's more fantasy with a sci-fi twist, where like these alien-like beings kind of like keep invading this land, and they need this certain race of people on their land to help save them, which this race kind of has like immortal tendencies, and now they kind of remind me of vampires from what I've read, like what they feed on. They used to feed on their gods. They have a tree god, and they used to feed on his sap. Well, now that he is dead, they are feeding on humans, human blood, and like every time something like this happens, they call it a reign, and so they're waiting for the 9th reign. Heard nothing but good things about that trilogy too, and that's a finished trilogy. So we'll see if I can get it finished. So that is my very rushed finishing up of my TBR, considering my camera was a dick and cut out. So those are all of them, all 5, or 6, excuse me. Hopefully I can get like half of these read. I'm trying really hard to motivate myself. Again, the broken record sound, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I felt kind of in a reading mood the past couple of days, but just never got around to it time-wise. So I'm hoping to be able to make some time. I missed out on our Patreon sprints this week because I just come off a graveyard, and I was all excited because it was going to be on my Saturday, which was a Thursday. But Becca moved them to Wednesday, and I was like half asleep, and I knew I wouldn't be able to hang. So here we are. That is my TBR. I'm sorry that it got broken up and I had to like vlog clip the rest of it, but I couldn't couldn't post like TBR with only one. I guess I could post a TBR with only one book. Off track. I couldn't just post it the way it was. I had to add to it. So sorry the lighting is now shit because I'm not in my setup with my ring light on and all that stuff, and I'm talking faster than I normally talk, and my arm is tired, and yeah. Oh, also, I think I'm going to, from now on, since my reading has been so shitty, I think to relieve the pressure on myself a little bit more, instead of doing monthly wrap-ups, I will do a wrap-up after every 2 or 3 books that I do complete, whenever that may be, and whatever that may be, because that way I won't feel as much pressure. So if I have a really great reading month, I'll have more videos. If I don't, then be like, oh, well, you haven't posted a video in like 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe you should get to reading. And I'm trying anything I can to try to motivate myself to read more. So maybe that'll help. But anyways, that's it, guys. That's my TBR. Sorry again for the mess. Just keeping it on brand. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.